I would guess that about 0.2% of Americans are drug free. And that's probably a really good guess uh, because of caffeine products, which is chocolate, teas, and coffee, and sometimes other things. Chocolate milk even has some. So almost no American is drug free. That's a drug. It's a real drug. And when we're talking about rehab and trying to teach your body to be rehabilitated from drugs, there's also Tylenol, aspirin, ibuprofen, and those things. And sometimes people can't come off of aspirin or ibuprofen because of an injury. Tylenol, they have different effects. They're not as, it's a different, you're not going to have a headache withdrawal from those usually like you do from caffeine. And people won't admit to show you how addiction can be, or dependency, or you like something enough. Some people won't admit they have a coffee headache or caffeine withdrawal headache, and because they don't want to act like it's a drug, they want to deny it's a type of drug. So, but sugar is not a drug. Okay, when people say sugar is a drug, a lot of times that's people who work with the cartel or who want drugs to stay unregulated because they benefit in some way from whether it's the hustle illegally or whether it's dealing or whether they're just a user that somehow has handouts from the cartel because their panhandle goes directly to them for years and years or something. I don't know. There's various things. I'm not knocking panhandling. I think panhandling should be legal with a sign. And I don't believe in outlawing the Good Samaritan from helping people if they want to. So uh, I just want to emphasize that sugar is not a drug. Your body needs sugar to a degree. It's in vegetables in a small amount. So you need a little sugar, but your body needs sugar. Your body doesn't necessarily need drugs. Doesn't need caffeine necessarily. We can become dependent on it, just like we do food. So addiction, in a sense, they talk about how bad addiction is and all this, and calls things addiction that are not addiction. Once an addict, always an addict, which is a twist, and that's not accurate. It's if you never eat spinach, I like to say, if you never eat spinach, you'll never miss spinach. But if you ate it and you liked it, at some point you're going to think of it again. And it's part of your mind's appetite. It's part of your body's appetite. That when you think about eating spinach, and your mind's appetite, your body's appetite craves it too. So your stomach remembers it and everything else. And so it's the same. Medicine works the same way. And so we call drugs medicine, illegal drugs medicine, but they're a type of medicine. The problem is we need to legalize the safest forms possible for people who are pre-exposed, because it is true, it's not fair to make spinach illegal. I mean, it is a sin for you to use, say, chocolate or spinach if you're allergic to it. You may like it and still want to use it anyway, even though it makes you itch, for example, because there are things that do that to me, and I know, like too much chocolate, and I still want my chocolate. And you're not standing in my way when I want it. But that's to show you. I mean, I think I'm not the only person in the world that has that kind of appetite for food. I have a bigger appetite than most people. I do. So all people are the same, and they're different in some ways. I do have a big appetite. I can eat. People have taken me out to eat to see how many plates I can eat before, because it was entertaining to them, because I can eat more than most people. And not as much as some of the skinny people I've seen in the food competitions. I wouldn't even try it. One time I showed off eating, and I thought I was going to die that night. I ate too much. But so we should take care of our bodies. We should know to do that. We should want to be healthy. We should want to feel good in a healthy way. But you're not drug free. I've done fasting for 16 days once, or 18. I forget. I think it was 16. But it wasn't every day. It was eat a day, fast a day for 16 days. Eat a day, fast a day. And the days I ate, I only ate lunch, a small lunch, right? And it was beans or, I had it planned out. And so I was fasting most of those days, but I ate lunch so I could extend my fast longer. That helped me extend it longer and have 8 days of complete fast and 8 days of only lunch, which is somewhat of a fast too. It's a diet. And it helped me get rid of a gallbladder problem. And it helped me in a lot of ways. Everybody saw me a week later, 2 weeks later, where I was living at the time, and they were shocked at how much weight I lost. And I was feeling like I'm 19 years old again after that. And I've fasted many times, one time for 4 days. I fasted for 3 days, and it's for health reasons, but I did use it for prayer during the time. The Bible says not to brag about fasting and all this for spiritual reasons, but I did it for physical reasons because I've had trouble managing and taking care of my temple because I have an appetite problem. And included in that appetite problem is I've had relapses, and I understand medicine because I've studied nutrition, by the way. I'm able to tell you sugar is not a drug. And so they're trying to trick people with that. But caffeine is a drug. And medicine, it's a medicine. Cocaine is a medicine. It's a drug. It's a medicine. It's not a poison, but it's a better medicine in the leaf form. And people are going to argue against that and hate on me for that. But I've seen bad reactions to marijuana. They claim that's a miracle drug. That's the only one that's good. But cocaine, I think, is a medicine just like anything else. I don't know all the street medicines, but the point is they don't give you the safe forms. They give people the bad forms, but the worst part of it is they put it in thieves' hands because the nature of that medicine is it's like coffee, but you can do more because you can do more without having a heart attack. And so if it feels good and you can do more without having a heart attack, some people are going to want to keep going. But I think it's usually people who don't love God, who don't believe in God, can keep going. It's also people who have pain. They want to keep going, who have pain they can't get rid of, whether it's emotional pain or whatever. It helps. Any kind of pain medicine is going to help you have an escape. But it causes more, there's always side effects to any medicine, right? So the truth is, I'm trying to give you the truth, right? And that's a truth people hate. And I agree with the laws and not promoting and going against anything that'll get a person in trouble. And I don't know, I'm not a scientist that knows everything about real cocaine. I know that scientists lie. I know people lie. I know that I've heard you can do 2 leaves off a coca leaf tree and make it into a tea, and it doesn't hurt you. If you do 100 leaves, it's going to hurt you. All right. We do that with green tea. We don't do 50 bags of green tea in 1 cup. We don't do even 3 or 4 bags of tea in 1 cup because it's too much caffeine and we know it's going to hurt us. So I just think if it was legal, people would do the normal tea bag and it wouldn't be a big deal. But I guess the propensity to want to do more is a little larger than the propensity, if that's proper English, to want to do more with caffeine product. But the chocolate now sneaks up on you. So I'm tempted to do more chocolate, but I'm not that tempted to do too much coffee or tea because I don't want to have a heart attack or the side effects. It's obvious, but the side effects in chocolate sneak up on you. So I do more chocolate, and so that's probably similar to how the coca leaf is. If they were not to be tricking everybody with it, it's probably you feel like I don't feel the side effects too bad, so I'll do more, and it sneaks up on you. So it can do that, and that's the real reason they've made it illegal. And I still think that's a trick because they could make chocolate illegal, and you'd have the same problems with chocolate if it was illegal. Similar, except it's not as strong. But I've heard people say once you make something illegal, you can jack the price up and they think they're jacking the price up, but what they're doing is giving it to thief groups who steal from you. Which, by the way, I wanted to say quickly on that subject. The goal of the illegal dealing groups, and it's not everybody that's getting into it knows this, but they see it happening around them, and eventually they accept it because it becomes so easier for them to profit. And they might even like using the products too. And so there's some people that use the products and are dealers at the same time, and they accept the stealing. They put up with the violence that goes along with it. And it's not the drugs that cause the violence. They can withdrawals. When you're in pain from withdrawal, that's when somebody usually wants to fight. But unless they like violence, then if you're doing a certain drug, if you like sexual activity. It may make you want more sexual activity. If you like to be a bully and fight people, it may make you want to do that more. So, or if you're lonely and can't find a mate, you might not be a sexual person, but it could turn you into more to give into this sex appeal or sensuality instead of going for the romance and spirituality and in a relationship. So it can make you give up on that and say, I'll never find anybody. It can do those things. I've been there on some of that. I'm not a thief. I'm not the other things. It can tempt you to be sensual. So that's if you're doing too much. But if you're doing medicinal usage, it can help you with depression. It can help through some pain. And then the Bible teaches it's a last resort to use medicine. And people, that's where we get abstinence from. But we've made abstinence into the unpardonable sin if you don't abstain. And we've got a lot of self-righteousness and Phariseeism and hypochondria because of that stuff. And we're so hypochondriac about it that we do not recognize that God made the natural plant medicines, and we've somehow made the coca leaf illegal. You won't. We've kept it out of America. We've managed to keep a coca leaf out of America. Think about this. Think about it. We've kept the coca leaf out of America, but not the strongest forms of it. We got the concentrated forms where they might take, I don't know how many it is, but we'll say 100, maybe 500, maybe 1,000, but at least I'd say 50 to 100 leaves, maybe 50 even, makes one line of coke, concentrated form, real strong. If it's completely pure, it might give you a heart attack the first dose. So somehow we've managed to allow that stuff in America, but we won't allow one leaf in. That's because the dealers over there don't want the leaf. They know they're not going to make, through thieving organizations who get somebody dizzy and steal from them, or isolate them from being protected by law enforcement because they accepted an illegal substance, so they know they can get them dizzy one time with something strong and intimidate them and steal everything they have, and everybody's going to think they spent all their money on drugs, right? So that's the trick that they all do, and some of them don't realize the methodology, but a lot of them just know instinctively it gets us money, right? And we don't care what happens to the customers. And and customers do it because they don't believe the lie. They don't believe the lie that all medicine is evil and it's of the devil. And they think, I don't believe them. I'm going to give it a try. It didn't hurt him. It didn't hurt her. They do that and they're like, these people are crazy. And they treat them like animals and like they can't ever talk again, like they can't have a house or anything because they used the medicine. Come on. So the lie matters. The lie matters. The delusion matters. The illusion matters. The hypochondriacs supporting these evil lies, sabotage matters. But the hypochondria, it has this somehow which Trump's finally stopping, letting the strongest forms of the drugs coming in to murderers to deal it. And we see them do it out in the public all the time, and we don't stop them from doing it. But if we catch their customer buying it and we catch them smoking, we catch them, but we will never stop the people who's out there slinging it all day right in front of us. It's kind of weird. I don't get it. Because it's okay for it to be in this neighborhood, but not that one. So this neighborhood's not protected from shootings and everything else, but all the other ones are if they're drug free. So using drugs is a sin, but doing everything against the fruit of the Spirit and the Holy Spirit is not a sin. As long as you don't drink alcohol. And I've lost a job before because I cashed a check. I didn't have a bank account at the time, 30 years ago, 35 years ago. I don't know, 30 years ago maybe. And because they saw a check stub come back or something, I didn't have a bank account, and I knew I could cash a check at a liquor store across the way. I didn't drink. I don't drink usually. I've drunk before, but I wasn't drinking anything. I wasn't there to drink. I just knew it's about the only place I knew I could cash a check at the time. And then for a fee, maybe $5 fee or whatever. So the place I was working saw that come back, and they were religious folks, and they just said, well, we just used you for the summer and don't need you for this position anymore. And we're glad you could help us. but they got rid of me because of that. Really, I forget how that went, but to me, I can understand the mindset on that, but I also don't agree with it necessarily. But so, from a spiritual standpoint, I think people should understand that Paul said he doesn't drink to reach because he wants to reach more people who don't understand that it's okay. Basically, that's in my summary of what he said. But he wants to be able to reach more people for God that would be offended and would shut him out, maybe. And I agree with that. But at the same time, you can't be acting like it's the unpardonable sin when it's a higher calling not to drink. It's a higher calling, but it's not an unpardonable sin. But it's tricky because the Bible warns us not to trust yourself to use a medicine because you could easily get carried away with it. You could easily get drunker than you want. And the Bible talks about all forms of drunkenness. So if you're using a medicine from an herb, or if you're using a medicine from alcohol, a drink, wine, or whatever, it's all medicine. It's all a form of drunkenness. Being high is a form of drunkenness. So the Bible talks against all forms of drunkenness, and lusting after drunkenness, and wanting to love pleasure more than God, and wanting to block God out. He says to be sober, be vigilant for your adversary, the devil. And he's not talking about sober in that verse. That includes that, but he's talking about being sober, being alert, be vigilant. He's talking about being temperate, be walking in the Spirit. And when we're angry, we're not walking in the Spirit. So he's saying don't walk in anger, but walk in forgiveness. That's being sober. That's not just talking about being sober from a medicine. So, but when I do too much caffeine, I don't feel that sober, meditative mind either. And so, I guess I better hurry up and close. I didn't want this to be a long one, but I could keep going on this rabbit trail. But I'm into nutrition. I've done that, and I'll do some nutrition videos at some point. But that to me is the best thing to contest addiction and relapse. So right now I'm coming off of caffeine myself again, and my appetite's way high because it dehydrated me. For a couple of reasons. It dehydrated me, but the caffeine itself has given me the withdrawal headaches, which frustrates me and makes me want to eat too, because I feel some pain from the withdrawal headaches. I don't like the fact that my memory's not as good. And but I felt like I was catching up on some sleep and stuff, and I wanted to party and eat what I wanted to eat, the chocolate and the coffee, and enjoy it. And my special had a chance to be where I could get some chocolate milk and coffee and some of my favorite ones. and I've had a time where I can eat some things I want to eat. It's like I'm on a vacation. So I did it. And in some ways I regret it. Other ways I'm like, no, I'm just letting my body catch up. I've lost a lot of sleep. So, but anyway, I am where I am on that. So what I know it did is I didn't want to gain weight, but I've gained some weight, but it's food weight. It's not fat weight yet. Some of it, maybe a little bit, but, so I've gone ahead and eaten what I want, and then I cut back, but especially until the headache's gone. I want to eat, give my body the calories it needs wants to fight that withdrawal symptoms, and then, cut back, and before it turns to fat. So that's my thoughts, and that's a test in a way. And so far it's working the way I thought it would. But so I gained a lot of weight one day because I ate a lot. And the next morning I was 8 pounds lighter because it was food weight. That's food weight. So anyway, but or was it 7 pounds? 7 pounds lighter, not 8 pounds. So I expect that's today. And then tomorrow I expect, unless I eat a lot today, some more of it will be off, but I still don't feel well. I feel like I want to eat. So, but eventually, because I choose certain foods, I know how to get my appetite balance back to not being so big, a smaller appetite cravings. So I have smaller cravings based on knowing how to eat and those kind of things. And then eventually, when I feel I'm balanced out, or if I feel too bad, if I'm not succeeding at that, I'll do a day of fasting, complete, no, just water for a day, and maybe 2 days if I can do it. So at that point, though, when my body's recovered to that level, I succeed at 2-day fasts, and those are really good. They help you break your sugar addiction. And 1 day of fasting, I don't break my sugar addiction. 2 days of fasting, I do. So I call sugar an addiction because it tastes good, and it does change your insulin levels. And if you don't have diabetes, it's you crave it more. If you have diabetes, it's not just it's easier to stay off of sugar because it makes you feel really bad, and but it's also wrong to do it and risk your life. So not to do it. Luckily, I don't have diabetes yet, but I've been borderline, and probably I'm close to borderline right now. After it doesn't take long, so I've been borderline and had to cut back, and I was able to avoid having diabetes type 1. So I don't want that. I don't want to have that if I can avoid it. With age, I might get it no matter what. But hopefully I stay active enough to walk it off or whatever. But so there are those things, and but I will fast. 1 day of fasting doesn't break a sugar habit, but the sugar is addictive but your body does use sugar. It's not like a drug. It's not something your body doesn't use. A drug is more like something your body doesn't have to have, but it helps you through pain, helps you through. So it's not, you don't actually have to have it unless it helps you. If you have a knee that swells up like mine has for quite a few years, and ibuprofen is the best thing for that knee to not swell, where I can walk the miles I need to walk, and it keeps it from rubbing together because it keeps the swelling down, inflammation, and so the two bones don't rub together like they would without ibuprofen. So, but ibuprofen is bad for your gut. It can create a hole in your stomach or a hole in your intestines. You got to be careful. That's why you have to do it with food. And hopefully I've done a lot of ibuprofen and haven't wanted to because I know those things. But my knee's not as bad as it used to be. I don't know if it'll keep getting better. It's still got an issue. But so I should be able to cut back on ibuprofen. And of course, I have a busted rib in my back that got busted a year or so ago, and it still haunts me. So every now and then I want to take ibuprofen for that. But and it helps you concentrate, helps you get more work done. So you could debate how spiritual do I want to be today? How meditative do I want to be today? Somebody could say it's a sin if I interrupt my meditativeness and spirituality for 1 second. But my focus matters too. Your mind matters too. But I might interrupt that, but I help my mind's focus. So I'm loving God more with my mind when I'm on ibuprofen. But as far as my meditation, it can throw off your focus too. If I won't get into that. We're out of time. But I don't believe, there's people that say, how dare you, it's a sin. And they want to believe in perfection, and they want to outlaw that people can have housing if they use ibuprofen. They'll go that far. And that's ridiculous. It's crazy. It's insanely prideful. It's pride. They found one thing they can do right, but what they do wrong the whole time, some of those, is they're rejecting God's spirit, love, joy, peace, his fruit of the spirit. And that's the unpardonable sin, to do that on a regular basis. So if that's their actual belief, they got it wrong. That's not the gospel. Thou shalt, let's see, we're not saved by our own good works. We're saved by the grace of Christ, and we're not perfect. We have to know we're sinners in order to seek the Savior. We have to admit we're sinners. We have to ask forgiveness of sins every day. We're tempted to sin every day. And if your sin is hating on people, it can be because you have zero real faith in God who created us and tells us to love our neighbors, which is the top law. The top law is to love God, love your neighbor. So I think I'll just end on that because I'm getting hot. And anyway, and I'm out of time really. So it's not just because I'm getting hot. I don't want to go to 30 minutes. I'd like to stop before 25, and just because of video space and everything else. But if I can come up with a good conclusion real quick, I will. I just hate thinking it through and taking time off the clock here. But yeah, I'm just going to end it and just say sugar is not a drug. No, it's not. Your body needs it. It's in vegetables, but you don't need much of it. That's the thing. You don't. But we like it. It tastes good. It also affects your insulin levels, so it has some effect, but naturally. So a drug is something that shields pain. It does different things like that and affects the mind in a different way.